Alright guys, welcome back to another motor rant. As y'all are well aware, I made a video a while back regarding the Trinity 17.5 motors and their issue with R.O.A.R and the motors being illegal again. You guys already know how I feel about that. Fantom Racing has also pulled their motors from the R.O.A.R approval list for the same reason. However, the two companies could not handle this situation any different. Fantom Motorworks is offering you guys that have their motors some really good deals on getting your motor taken care of. Free rebuild with a 17.5 touring stator, which is still R.O.A.R approved, or 20% off a one-time purchase from anything on their website, or $25 off one-time purchase of anything. You're not trading anything in. You're not giving up anything. You either get your motor back to R.O.A.R spec, or you can buy something else from them. Team Trinity, on the other hand, came out with a press announcement that they will give you $75 trade-in on their monster stock, on their monster motors that are now illegal. However, they're giving you $75 off of the MSRP price of a motor that they sell on their website for $99. I don't agree with that. R.O.A.R, or Trinity, is still attempting to make a large profit on the fact that you guys have to go out and buy motors. They originally came out and said they were going to do any motors purchased in the last calendar year. Now they put dates on it. It's any motor that was produced from July of last year to February of this year. At least they're doing something. I don't agree with the way they're doing it, especially for you guys that have the certified motors and don't do your own motor tuning. There's a huge, it doesn't balance the equation. Fantom, on the other hand, from a racing manufacturer, at least stood up. They said exactly what happened with their motors and what's going on and how they're going to rectify that for their drivers and guys that support their products. Mad props to Fantom for doing what they're doing. They don't have to do that. For you guys that want to keep spouting and private messaging me on Facebook and how I feel about this whole situation, I ran brush touring car at a pro level back when we still raced brushed motors, handout motors, all that fun stuff. Stock racing has not changed. If you want to be competitive with a stock car, you're going to have equipment to do it, or you're going to spend big money to race stock. I don't care if it's 17.5, 13.5, whatever class that you're running spec, you're going to have to spend money to do it if you want to win, especially if you want to be competitive and win. I just think that brushless motors, when they came out, they were supposed to save us all a ton of money because we only had to buy one motor for stock, and we could limit things in the ESC and keep the RPM down and level the playing field for everybody. No longer have to spend big money on batteries. Yeah, I was around as an active driver when all this stuff was going on. I had a lot of money invested in motor lathes for trimming comms, magnet zappers for zapping my magnets. I used to go to the track with boxes of different cut brushes and springs for different track conditions and humidity. We used to take dry ice to the track with us until they told us we couldn't. The point being, stock is, everybody's always going to look for that advantage. Everybody. Now, my personal take on it is I believe that Trinity knew something was up with the wire. I can't prove it. It's not the first time Trinity's been caught doing the exact same thing. For the guys who want to jump on and complain, well, R.O.A.R did this and R.O.A.R's costing me money. R.O.A.R is not costing you money. R.O.A.R is a sanctioning body. Think of them like NASCAR. They tell the manufacturers what they have to do to them motors, what they have to do to get them inspected, what they have to do to be legal for a R.O.A.R sanctioned event. Same with speed controls, batteries, bodies, anything else. It's not it's not like the manufacturers don't know what they have to do to these motors. But we all knew that Trinity was doing something when you take that motor and they dominate very easily out of the box with very little tuning. The Fantom motors are really good. But for you guys that race stock, we already knew this. We knew something was going on with those motors. It's why everybody was running them. It's why you had to have that motor to be competitive, to dominate, or even have a chance to win in that class. And like I said, a lot of you guys paid for the certified motors, which have the upgraded rotors and the bearings and all that fun stuff. Let me in on a little secret. Or let me let you guys in on a little secret. If you take the time, you can do everything that they do to that motor yourself. If you learn how to set up your own motor, you can do all of that whole upgrade on your own to any motor you buy and do the same thing and be just as competitive on the track. Given different motors from different manufacturers, I can successfully tune those motors to be fairly competitive as long as they're all playing within the same rules. The heavier wire is a distinct advantage in a limited turn class, especially when we're not limited by the amount of amps that we can draw. I'll do a whole nother video on the technical side of brushless motors where y'all can look it up. Point being, even just going to a slightly thicker wire on your coils for your stator is a big, big advantage. It changes the entire characteristics of that motor. It lets it run cooler. There's a lot of things going on there when you throw in the fact that we're stuck with the in-bell timing and we can't use boost or anything else that we can use on our speed controls in mod. There are reasons that it doesn't cost as much to race a mod car as it does stock. I have nowhere near the amount of money in a mod buggy that I would have running a blinky class buggy or turn car or anything. Vintage Trans Am, same games are going on there. You can jump on any of their forums. It's the same issues, except for when you had to run the Novak system or when everybody's rollout had to be the same. But for you guys that want to jump on your keyboards and get all over the internet and talk about R.O.A.R costing you money, if it wasn't for R.O.A.R, we wouldn't have a consistent way to crown national champions. We wouldn't have regionals. We wouldn't have events. We probably wouldn't have the level of racing that we have now. R.O.A.R defines the rules for everything. It's just not motors that R.O.A.R is responsible for. Chassis dimensions, body dimensions, tires, everything on our cars. There are sections for it in the R.O.A.R rulebook. If you guys haven't taken the time to read the entire rulebook, I do every year. I have a copy of it on my phone that I'm recording on right now. If you guys read the rulebook and you know what you're doing, you can find the gray areas that you can take advantage of. Top guys do this where they have a team that does it for them. As I said in my previous videos, it comes down to what you are willing to invest in this hobby to run at that level. If you want to go out and invest thousands of dollars in it, more power to you. Odds are you'll have more horsepower than anybody at the track, and if you can drive it, you'll probably outrun everybody at your track. Nothing makes up for the loose nut that's on the radio at the end of the day. If you can drive a slow car fast when you get good equipment, you will be better. It comes down to how much time do you want to put into prepping that car. There are other ways to gain the speed advantages that these guys got with their motors. Everybody's already doing them. They are not illegal. There's nothing illegal about blasting the heavy grease out of a set of high-dollar ceramic bearings and putting light machine oil on them, freeze them bearings up dramatically, almost no drag on them, But we all know that that bearing is not going to live as long if you don't maintain it and tear that car down. I take a race car to the track for the weekend, go to a big event. If it's a multiple day event, I can almost guarantee you when I get back to my hotel room or where I'm staying, almost that entire car is getting taken apart every night. Period. It's just the way it goes. How bad do you, what level of competition are you guys looking for? If you're wanting to have fun and burn batteries and laps, cool. Don't get frustrated because you're getting beat by the next guy. If you're like anybody else that wants to go racing, you're out there to win. At some point, you will be looking and trying to figure out how to win. At some point, it will come down to knowing how to maintain and dial your car is worth more than just about any other single thing you can do in stock. Knowing how to set that car up. Build your car by the manual. Cool. Plenty of people do it. Plenty of people can throw that car down with massive horsepower in the back of it in mod class and go out and win. You can do just as good in mod with a slightly cheaper motor if you do all the shimming and tuning tricks that aren't in that manual for that car. Cleaning bearings is just one example of several things I do when I build a car from the ground up. Those of you that are subscribers to my channel have seen the build video for the DC-1, which is my trail truck. I got out of racing for certain reasons. Got out of racing back in the day for certain reasons. These are my own personal reasons. The trail truck thing is fun. I like doing the trail events. They're fun. They're non-competitive. There's no real rules on them other than what size tires I can run and, you know, the body accessory rules, which is all really about looks. There's some performance advantages there, but it's more about having fun at those events. I like hanging out with the guys I do the trail truck shit with. It's fun. I enjoy it. I enjoy doing the scale things. We are getting you back into racing. Big Zach's had some issues with getting the cars delivered. We have everything but one car, and they should be showing up down here later this evening, maybe tomorrow morning. There'll be videos coming on them. I'll show you guys what I do to maintain and prep these cars. You guys will see what we do to the cars at the track. And again, I don't recommend what we do for everybody. It's a great thing about this hobby. You can take it to any level you want. But you guys that want to sit here and complain that race, you are racers. You're not going to go race at any track with any car, RC, full-size, drag strip, anywhere, without having to follow some sanctioning body's rules. In the U.S. for RC cars, we have R.O.A.R. They're around to start this. Europe has its effort. And there's other sanctioning bodies that all talk to each other across the world for our world championships and figuring out the invite drivers for those lists. You guys should be happy with some of this stuff we have. Brushless has changed the game. Brushless, I want to say it saves money over brushed. The performance difference is not as big as it was back when we ran brushed. Back when we ran 27-turn brushed motors as a stock class, the difference between somebody that knew how to tune and prep their motor and buying a motor off the shelf, breaking it in, and putting your car was a night and day difference. I don't care what you spent on that motor coming from anybody. Team Trinity, any of the motor manufacturers that were big back in the day. I ran Trinity motors religiously back in the 27-turn brush days. I didn't run their motors stock. The other thing I've been seeing a lot of in the last couple of days is y'all people wanting to bring out handout motors back. It really will not make a difference in who the fast guys are. The handout motors were big back and brushed. I like doing them, but it was the same deal. The handout tire and handout brush, handout motor touring races were a big deal. Go to the track, pay your entry fee, get your tires, reach in to grab a bag of motors, pull one out, and before you even hit the track with it, we're already back in the pits, tearing the motor down. I'll put it on the dyno first, because all of those fast guys had big, because they weren't small. Laptops are not what they are now, guys. hook them up to the computer, hook them up to your motor dyno, see what the motor was doing out of the bag, break it in halfway, or see what it was doing. Sometimes it wasn't even worth breaking it in because the motor had issues, wasn't shimmed correctly, whatever. First thing we did after we ran them was tear the motor completely apart, rip all the shims out of it, re-shim the motor. If we weren't worried about them checking comms, the first thing you did to that armature was chalk it up in a comm lathe and cut it down to almost the bare minimum spec, because you got more RPM out of that damn motor when you did it. When you cut down the comm, you change the timing on the motor and all kinds of other overlap on brushes, everything. Next step, you're usually forced to use the brushes that came with the handout motor. Most of the time they ended up on a brush cutter and got cut and serrated or drilled or any one of a number of other tricks depending on the track layout to get the motor to run the way I wanted it. If the springs that came on the handout motor were too damn heavy, there were plenty of us using needle nose pliers and vice grips to hold them in front of a torch because we couldn't change them out for softer springs to get them to do what we wanted. Nothing's going to change with brushless. If I go to a brushless handout motor race for 17.5 or 13.5 because I prefer four-wheel drive, that motor is going to get put on a motor analyzer. It's going to get spun up. I'm going to look at all the data I get off my analyzer. I'm probably going to zap the arm if I have my magnet zapper with me. I am probably going to definitely re-shim the motor. Depending on the sensor board setup, there are ways to play with them to get the sensor boards more accurate without soldering anything. There are little tricks you can do to that. I'm going to set the timing on it for the amp pull I want for that class. You're still going to be playing with the motor. I'm still going to be doing it. The guys who have the money and the equipment are still going to be the fast guys. There are ways to compete with that. I remember back when we ran brushed, I used to pretty much pay for my entry fees just by sitting there with my 3 lathes cutting comms for other people while I was working on mine. The fast guys are still going to be fast. We are still going to find ways to tune these cars and motors to what we want. Fixed timing on the speed control? Okay, that's no big deal. I got in-bell timing. There are adjustments to get this stuff right. There are plenty of other YouTube videos that will show you what they are looking for on an amp draw, no load, with a brushless motor. Back in the day, we had flywheel dynos because we weren't producing near the amount of torque or RPM under no load. And you could actually hook flywheel up to your brush motor, put it on a machine, spin it up, and get a nice printout of your torque and RPM out of that motor for a given input voltage. Usually 4 volts. That's all I've got for right now, guys. Anybody from Team Trinity or Fantom Racing wants to comment on this, feel free to comment down below. As always, remember to like and subscribe. If any of you guys out there have anything to say, feel free to leave a comment. If anybody is interested in going live on Google Hangouts or anything else to discuss this, we can do that too. Let me know. I would love to hear from Team Trinity and Team Fantom and take their side of things, hear their side of the story, and bring it to y'all. Fantom Racing, awesome job stepping up for your drivers. Team Trinity, you should really look at what they're doing, because I am not a big fan of your trade-in that you're offering right now. As always, like and subscribe. You guys have a good afternoon. I'll be back with more later on.